here on Kiwi.
You're listening to the Radio Wammo Breakfast, only on Kiwi.
The best ideas are free. It's Ben Young from bwaggy.com, BWAGY, and twitter.com/bwaggy. Ben Young, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And you've had a weekend in Sydney.
Yes, I went away for the weekend, decided to do some exploring across the ditch in Sydney.
Good times?
Yeah, it was good. Like a bigger Auckland.
Now, we were just saying off air, we'll have none of these comparisons going on.
No.
It's something that us New Zealanders, we like to do. You were saying, you see a beautiful fjord overseas and you go, they're just like the Marlborough Sounds.
Yeah. Yeah. Kiwis, traditionally, we are a little bit of snobs when it comes to tourist stuff, especially if you've been all around New Zealand a couple of times.
I think it's a key point, though, to acknowledge that because I think it's been drummed into us over many years that New Zealand is the most beautiful country in the world. I'm not sure if that's correct. I think there's plenty of other beautiful places, but for some reason we have this thing like, no, this is the best.
Yeah, how do you define the most beautiful place on earth?
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick little story. I'm originally from Queenstown, and a lot of my family cleared the land around Glenorchy, and the other branch of the family were from Dunedin and shifted to Queenstown.
Yeah.
Now, my granddad, he has stubbornly not really left New Zealand.
Right.
He had to go to Australia once, but it wasn't his own choice. It was for business reasons.
Yeah.
So,
look, some people don't even leave the South Island.
Yeah, well, I think he's been to the North Island a couple of times, but that's only because he had some stores in Wellington.
Yeah.
But he had pushed that out as much as possible.
Sure.
And his reason was because every year, living in central Otago, he'd meet someone from outside of New Zealand who'd travelled all the way around the world to come here, and they'd say, you live in the most beautiful place on earth. Mm. And that was his reason. He's like, I'm only going to be disappointed.
Mm.
I think kind of his generation, they have a lot of that. They've spent their whole life watching tourism numbers increase in New Zealand change.
Yeah.
And all we hear is that it is the most beautiful place on earth.
Yeah. But I think tourists flatter the locals wherever they go. You know, if I was going to the Netherlands, I'd say, gosh, this is beautiful.
It's like the band that comes and plays. Like, you're the best audience on the tour.
Exactly, and we believe it, right?
Yeah, very true.
Sounds genuine. Well, this actually is related to what we're talking about today, first impressions.
Yeah, so I've read Malcolm Gladwell's book a few years back. It's called Blink. And it's the
likewise, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Good book.
Yeah, really good. And it's the concept of making snapshot judgments. Mm. And what we do when we meet someone or encounter a scenario for the first time, we make a few snapshot judgments, whether we consciously realise it. And I always kind of analyse my own personal snapshot judgments. And the key one that I kind of want to talk about is when you enter a country for the first time.
Yeah. And
wherever I go, I always really love coming back to Auckland International Airport, because after you get off the plane, you walk through, there's big pictures like "Welcome to New Zealand," and there's a whole lot of big photos and posters of what you're going to experience in New Zealand.
That's for the tourists.
Yes, but like, as a Kiwi coming home, you kind of, I'm home now.
Okay.
But what you don't notice, and I'm not sure if everyone does, is that they quietly play a soundtrack of nature and bird sounds. And
yeah, I have heard that. Yeah.
And I didn't notice it the first few times, but I quite look forward to that, because it is kind of, welcome, here's what you're going to get, just relax, unwind.
Here's what you're going to get, maybe. I don't know,
Yeah.
You don't walk out into the car park and you still hear the birds tweeting.
Maybe we need to put speakers outside.
Continuously. And in the car. Well, actually, if you hop on the bus, there's sounds on the bus sometimes as well.
Oh, do they?
With visuals, yeah. Dolphins and whales and all that stuff, walking along tracks in the fjordland, that kind of business.
But that is the image that New Zealand sells to the world. That's why we come here. Mm. So it's quite important that we reinforce that. I want to kind of compare that against, say, when I went into Bolivia. The international airport is tiny because people only come in, they don't really fly out of Bolivia, they carry on through. It was about the same size as the old domestic terminal in Dunedin. So it was probably a big classroom relative.
Yeah.
And so I was filling out all my paperwork, and I was consciously thinking about, what does this say for the country, how receptive are they to visitors? And I couldn't fill in the customs form. The translations to English were horrible.
Oh, no.
And so I did the form 3 times. By now, everyone else has left, so there's no English-speaking people to help me. And in the end...
and I would be thinking, oh no, they think that I'm nervous because I'm carrying something that I shouldn't be carrying on, and they're going to be thinking they're now going to search me. Yeah.
And that's exactly what was going through my mind. I'm getting a bit flustered. Any Spanish that I did know was gone.
Yeah.
So I kept giving him the form, and in the end, he wrote some stuff and stamped it. And fingers crossed that stuff was good. Yeah. And there were 2 guards... and they're wearing bulletproof vests and holding AK-47 standing beside me, and I'm thinking, oh, now I'm in for it.
Yeah.
And so I got the form back, and I turned around, and they're holding my bags for me. They'd walked over to the carousel, picked up my bags. One helped put my pack on my back, and then they showed me how to get out.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I'd be thinking, oh no, they're holding my bags, they're about to tear them open.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought, oh no, I'm really in for trouble here.
But they're being helpful.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was kind of that unexpected thing. You're like, okay, I'm entering a country that's well known for its drug problems and exporting drugs. You know, as a tourist, I'm going to be nailed unless I'm spot on. But
we were just talking about our prejudices right then, weren't we?
Yeah.
About
exactly.
these people and about these countries.
Yeah.
But your first impression was completely different.
Yeah. So, but what I thought was based on my stereotypes.
Yeah.
But then what the reality was, they were actually friendly people that were willing to help me, you know, and welcome me into the country.
Isn't that our constant battle, just being humans?
Yes.
To try and put aside our preconceptions about things.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a little bit what Malcolm Gladwell talks about, how we have these preconceptions, and then there's stuff that kind of is out of the norm and we can't place it. But if you talk to an expert in that area, sometimes they can, and they can't tell why. And he gives the example of a marriage counsellor. Now, what he does is he analyses conversations between married couples that are having problems. And if he watches an hour, he can tell with 95% accuracy whether they will still be married in 15 years. And if he takes that down to 15 minutes, that only drops to 90%. And so what he's done is built up a mental mind map. The things that dictate whether these couples are going to stay together.
Now, I know within that story, they can also take a piece of footage that's only 1 or 2 seconds long, slow that down into frames, and garner information from that as well.
Yeah, I forget the exact numbers, but I think it's about 80% if you dropped it down to a few seconds.
Yeah.
And the key thing that he was looking for was contempt. If there's contempt displayed between the couples, then that was the crucial thing.
It's all in the body language, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Facial expressions,
So from 30 years, because they've been collecting this data since the 60s, he's been able to build up this mental mind map and accurately predict that.
So even if, obviously it's been slowed down, but an expert will be able to see that anyway in real time.
Yeah.
Right.
And so with the first impression, it's almost as if when you meet someone, you're matching them up to every other person that you've met before, and you're kind of slotting them in beside someone you've met before. Okay, Ben's wearing a white T-shirt, shoes, he's got a rain jacket. How does that match in with other people that I know? Using the visual...
Drug dealer.
No. But, yeah, so that's what happens when you have a first impression, and also that's what happens when other people see you and engage with you for the first time. They formulate that first impression, but we always forget that.
Yeah. It's a very good point.
Yes, I just wanted to talk about that. And
just very quickly, we're running out of time, but you wanted to mention something about the iPhone now. Is this the iPhone application?
I just wanted to talk about the iPhone in general, a little bit about how when you watch Star Trek and some of the sci-fi movies, always talking about kind of a remote for your life. And I dare say that the iPhone is it. Because once you grab the phone and bundle it with the applications, you can virtually put technology in every part of your life. So I'll just give a quick few things. If you're camping, there's a mosquito repellent app. So it plays high-frequency noise to Sirius. And I talked to an iPhone engineer to see if that was actually possible with the iPhone, and they said yes, it was. There's a flashlight, so it illuminates the whole screen so you can see. There are exercise applications. Which you can use with Nike Plus to tell how many calories you've burnt whilst walking and how many steps you make in a day. There's project management. My favourite would be the Panoramic app. And so it stitches 5 or 6 photos together.
Yep.
And what are the others? The list goes on. There's just a huge amount. Now, what I'm saying is that with the iPhone app, once you plug that technology into your own life and then get the applications that you want, your use for it changes completely differently to the standard and everyone else. So, for example, with my iPhone, it's very business geared, so I have a lot of applications that help me run my business. But if you talk to a photographer, they might have a whole lot around sharing their media.
So it's stylized to your life and your lifestyle, so it can become a completely different piece of technology to you than it would to someone else.
Exactly.
Ben Young, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Very great thoughts there. Ben Young, you can find him at bwaggy.com, BWAGY.com, and also twitter.com/Bwaggy, and he'll be back same time next week. And don't forget, you'll find this video up on YouTube as well on the Kiwi FM website, kiwifm.co.nz.